The battlefield was silent in a way that felt wrong. Broken ships floated like dead metal birds above the ruined planet. Smoke and dust covered the ground, hiding the scars of a war that had ended only hours before. Human exploration forces had arrived late, answering a weak distress signal that barely reached their scanners. Whatever fight had happened here was already over. Ethan Vale moved carefully through the wreckage. He was not a frontline soldier. He was an engineer, trained to fix machines and keep people alive when systems failed. His armor was scratched, his helmet cracked on one side, but he kept walking. Human Command had ordered a search for survivors, any species, any side. Most of the ruins were empty. Alien bodies lay where they had fallen, their armor shattered beyond repair. Ethan felt the familiar weight in his chest. Too late again, he thought. Too far again. Then his scanner pinged. A weak life sign came from beneath a collapsed stone arch near what looked like an old ceremonial hall. Ethan ran toward it, pushing aside broken metal and cracked stone with his gloved hands. Under the debris, he found her. She was tall, even by alien standards, with pale blue skin marked by faint glowing lines. Her armor was beautiful once, Ethan could tell, though now it was ruined. Deep cracks ran across its surface, and a dark, corrosive substance ate slowly into the metal. The armor seemed almost fused to her body, as if it was part of her rather than something worn. She was barely breathing. Ethan did not stop to think about rank, species, or danger. He activated his emergency beacon and began working. The corrosive substance was reacting with the armor, generating heat and toxins that were killing her. If he left it, she would be dead within minutes. Human medical training said one thing clearly: remove the source of harm. But the armor would not come off. Ethan tried cutting tools, but the metal resisted. He switched methods, carefully neutralizing the corrosive material with a compound from his kit. Slowly, patiently, he cleaned the surface, inch by inch. His hands moved with focus and care, not force. He spoke softly as he worked, even though he knew she could not hear him. "You're going to be okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "Just hold on." As he cleaned the armor, strange symbols beneath the damage began to glow faintly. Ethan noticed but did not understand. To him, it was just advanced alien tech reacting to repair efforts. He adjusted his approach, stabilizing the energy flow so the armor would not collapse completely. Minutes passed, then more. Finally, her breathing steadied. Ethan leaned back, exhausted. He had cleaned the armor enough to stop the damage. The alien woman still lay unconscious, but she was alive. That was when her eyes opened. They were bright silver, sharp even in weakness. She looked directly at him. Not confused, not afraid. Shock crossed her face, followed by something deeper recognition mixed with disbelief. Her voice was barely more than a whisper, but the words carried weight. "By doing this," she said slowly, struggling with the foreign language, "you have claimed me, human." Ethan froze. "What?" he said quickly. No. You're safe." "I'm not. I'm just helping." She closed her eyes for a moment, as if the effort of speaking was painful. When she opened them again, they were filled with conflict. "You touched the sacred armor," she said. "You cleansed it." "I was just trying to save your life," Ethan replied. "I didn't know it was sacred." A distant rumble echoed across the ruins. Not thunder. Ships. The alien woman's body tensed, despite her weakness. She tried to sit up and failed. Ethan moved without thinking, supporting her carefully. "Easy," he said. "You're injured." "They are coming," she said. "My people." Before Ethan could ask more, the sky lit up with descending craft. Elegant alien ships landed around the ruined hall, their hulls marked with the same symbols as her armor. Armed figures poured out, weapons raised. Within seconds, Ethan was surrounded. The aliens froze when they saw him holding her. Their reaction was instant and violent. Weapons locked onto him from every direction. One of them shouted in a harsh, commanding tone. Ethan could not understand the words, but the intent was clear. Step away. Now, Ethan slowly raised one hand. She's hurt, he said calmly. I'm a human engineer. I stopped the corrosion. She needs medical care. The alien woman spoke sharply, her voice suddenly stronger. Lower your weapons. The soldiers hesitated. One of them, wearing heavier armor and a crest of authority, stepped forward. His eyes moved from Ethan's hands to the cleaned sections of the armor. His expression changed. Shock, then rage. You let him touch it? The commander demanded. I was dying, she replied. He saved me. That does not matter, the commander said. The law also says I live, she interrupted. The tension was thick enough to feel. Ethan stood still, heart pounding. He had walked into something far bigger than he understood. The commander turned his gaze on Ethan, cold and sharp. You are under arrest? Human, he said through a translator field that crackled to life. For violating royal sanctity, Ethan blinked. Arrest? I didn't. Before he could finish, energy restraints snapped around his arms. He did not resist. He looked back at the alien woman. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't mean to cause trouble. She met his eyes, something unreadable passing between them. You did not cause trouble, she said. You accepted burden. He was led away as medical teams lifted her onto a floating platform. As they carried her toward the ship, she watched him until he disappeared behind the soldiers. Inside the alien command vessel, Ethan was placed in a containment chamber. The walls were smooth and glowing softly, designed more for holding than harming. He sat on the floor, replaying everything in his mind. Sacred armor, claimed, burden. None of it made sense. Hours later, the door opened. The alien commander entered, followed by several elders. Their faces showed anger, fear, and something else, uncertainty. You are ignorant of our ways, the commander said. That may be the only reason you still breathe. I told you, Ethan replied evenly. I didn't know. I saw someone dying, and I helped. That's it. One of the elders studied him closely. Would you have done the same if she were not royal? And? Yes, Ethan said without hesitation. Wouldn't matter who she was. The elders exchanged looks. You cleansed her armor with patience, another elder said. Not force, not conquest. You remained while death worked against you. So, Ethan asked. In our culture, the commander said tightly, only one who accepts lifelong responsibility may do such a thing. Ethan swallowed. I didn't accept anything. Intent is not required, the elder replied. Action is. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, the commander spoke again. By our law, you cannot be executed immediately. Ethan let out a slow breath. That's good? It means, the commander continued, you must be tested. Ethan leaned back against the wall, exhausted but strangely calm. Humans had faced worse odds than this. He had not come here to claim power, honor, or royalty. He had come because someone was dying. And in the vast silence of space, that was reason enough. Ethan Vale was moved from the holding chamber at dawn. Though the alien ship had no true sunrise, the light simply shifted from soft blue to a brighter white. 2 guards escorted him through long curved halls made of living metal. The walls responded to movement, glowing gently as they passed, as if the ship itself was aware. Ethan walked without resistance. His hands were free. But he knew he was not free. Every step reminded him that he was very far from home, surrounded by a species whose laws he had broken without knowing they existed. They brought him into a wide, circular chamber. The floor was smooth stone, and symbols were carved into it in slow spirals. Around the edges stood alien leaders, warriors, and scholars. At the center, raised slightly above the floor, lay Princess Calith. She was awake now. Her armor had been stabilized but not fully repaired. Cleaned sections shone faintly, while damaged parts remained dull and cracked. She looked stronger than before, but her movements were still careful. When Ethan saw her, He felt relief first. Alive. That was what mattered. The commander spoke, his voice echoing across the chamber. The human will stand trial under the law of burden. A low murmur passed through the crowd. Ethan stayed silent, waiting. The commander continued. The law does not ask intent. It asks truth. If the human accepts responsibility, he may live. If he fails, the sentence is final. Ethan frowned slightly. Responsibility for what? He asked. For her life, the commander said. For her survival. For her future actions, if they are shaped by your interference. Ethan looked at Kalith. She met his gaze steadily. I did not ask you to do this, he said to her. I didn't even know who you were. I know, she replied. That is why the law listens. The elders raised their hands, and the chamber changed. The floor shifted, opening into a path of glowing platforms that led forward into darkness. The trials begin, an elder said, not to test your strength, but your nature. The first platform rose beneath Ethan's feet, separating him from the others. A field formed around him, cutting off sound from the crowd. The platform moved forward and lowered him into a vast open space. The air felt heavy. The ground beneath his boots was uneven, cracked by old damage. A wounded alien warrior lay ahead, trapped beneath fallen debris. His armor was shattered, and his breathing was weak. A voice filled the space, calm and emotionless. Trial 1. A life without value to you. Save it or walk away. Ethan did not hesitate. He ran toward the fallen warrior, lifting debris with effort. The metal was heavy, far heavier than anything he was used to, but he strained against it anyway. His muscles burned. His breath came in sharp gasps, but he did not stop. The warrior groaned as the weight lifted. Ethan quickly stabilized him. Using the same careful methods he had used on Kalith's armor, he used his limited supplies wisely, slowing the damage rather than trying to fix everything at once. When he finished, he stepped back, exhausted. The voice returned. Why did you help him? Ethan wiped sweat from his face. Because he was alive. The space faded. The platform lifted him again, returning him to the chamber. The crowd was quieter now. Some watched him with curiosity instead of anger. Kalith's fingers tightened slightly where they rested on the platform. The second trial came without pause. This time, Ethan was dropped into a narrow corridor. Alarms blared. The walls shook violently. 2 paths lay ahead. On one side, a door marked with Kalith's symbol. On the other, a door marked with a group symbol he did not recognize. The voice spoke again. Trial 2. You may save one path. Choose. Ethan clenched his jaw. What's behind them? On one path, the princess, the voice said. On the other, 5 non-royal citizens. Ethan closed his eyes for a brief moment. Then he turned and ran toward the door marked with the group symbol. He forced it open. Inside, 5 aliens were trapped, frightened and injured. He guided them out, one by one, ignoring the warnings flashing across his visor. When the corridor collapsed behind him, he shielded them with his body, taking the force of falling debris across his back. Pain shot through him, but he stayed upright. The trial ended. When he returned to the chamber, Kalith was staring at him in shock. You chose them, she said softly. Yes, Ethan replied simply. The commander's voice was tight. You let a royal die. Ethan met his gaze. No. I trusted you would not design a trial that required murder. Silence followed. The elders spoke quietly among themselves. The third trial was the hardest. Ethan was placed on a barren plain beneath a dark sky. A storm raged around him, cutting visibility to almost nothing. His suit systems failed one by one. His communications went dead. Hours passed. He could have knelt. He could have called for help. The trial allowed it. Instead, Ethan kept moving. He marked his path. He conserved energy. When he found broken alien equipment, he repaired it. Even though it slowed him down, when he found signs of others lost in the storm, he redirected power beacons to guide them, even if it meant he would struggle more. By the time the trial ended, he was barely standing. He collapsed onto the chamber floor when it returned him. The elders approached. You endured, one said. You sacrificed advantage. Ethan looked up weakly. That's what responsibility is. Kalith descended from her platform, stepping onto the floor for the first time since the battle. She stood before Ethan, towering over him, yet somehow uncertain. Our law was built to bind rulers, she said. Not to understand beings like you. Ethan forced a tired smile. I'm not trying to bind anyone. I know, she said. The commander looked between them. His expression conflicted. The trials are not complete, he said. But the law listens. Ethan was taken away again, this time not to a cell, but to a recovery chamber. Medical systems treated his injuries quietly. As he rested, Kalith watched from beyond the field. For the first time in centuries, her people were not asking what a law demanded, they were asking what it meant. And in the center of that question stood a human who had never wanted power, only to keep someone alive. Ethan woke slowly, his body heavy and sore. Soft light filled the recovery chamber, and a gentle hum surrounded him. The alien medical systems had done their work well. His cuts were sealed, bruises faded, and the sharp pain in his back had softened into a dull ache. He sat up carefully. The field around the bed shimmered and then faded, allowing him to stand. For a moment, he simply breathed, grounding himself. Humans were good at that, enduring, then adapting. The door opened. Princess Kalith entered alone. She walked without armor now, wearing simple ceremonial cloth that showed the glowing lines of her skin more clearly. Without the heavy metal shell, she looked less like a living weapon and more like a person carrying great weight. You should still be resting, she said. I've rested enough, Ethan replied. What's happening? Kalith paused, choosing her words. The council is divided. The law of burden has never reached this point before. That sounds bad, Ethan said. It is uncertain, she admitted. Some believe you have already fulfilled the law. Others believe the law itself is being threatened. Ethan rubbed his neck. I don't want to threaten anything. I just want to go home. Kalith looked at him closely. If the trials end now, you may not be allowed to. Before he could respond, an alarm echoed through the ship, low and urgent. The floor vibrated under their feet. Kalith's eyes widened. External threat. The ship's walls shifted, displaying a projection of space outside. Dark, jagged vessels emerged from hyperspace, weapons already charging. Ethan recognized the design from human briefings. Raiders. They followed the battle, Ethan said. They wait until everyone's weak. Weak. The commander's voice echoed over the internal network. All units to defense positions. Kalith turned toward the door, then stopped. She looked back at Ethan. The final trial was meant to test your loyalty under command, she said. But this is no longer a trial. Ethan met her gaze. Then what is it? A choice, she said. Stay here and be safe. Or stand with us. Ethan did not answer with words. He walked past her toward the armory. The battle was chaos. Alien defense platforms fired into space as raider ships returned fire with brutal precision. Explosions lit the void. One of the outer shields failed, and the ship shook violently. Ethan worked alongside alien engineers, repairing damaged systems under fire. The tech was different, but logic was universal. Power flow, structural integrity, redundancy. His hands moved fast, mind focused. A blast tore through a nearby corridor, throwing several aliens to the ground. Ethan ran toward them, pulling one clear of falling debris while sealing a ruptured conduit. You should not be here, one engineer shouted. Neither should the hole in your ship, Ethan replied. As the fight worsened, Kalith took command of ground defenses. Without her armor, she relied on strategy rather than strength, directing units with calm precision. Then the raiders breached the hull. Boarding parties poured into the lower decks. Alien warriors engaged them, but the raiders were ruthless and well-armed. Ethan found himself face-to-face with one of them, a towering figure in black armor. The raider raised a weapon. Ethan did not. Instead, he slammed a power cell into an exposed conduit and overloaded it. The blast knocked both of them back. The raider did not rise. Ethan did, slowly, shaking. He was not a soldier. But humans had learned long ago that survival did not always care about titles. The ship shuddered again. A warning flashed across the systems. Critical damage. Throne Hall compromised. Caliph. Ethan ran. The Throne Hall was a place of beauty and history, now scarred by fire and broken stone. Raiders pushed forward, cutting down defenders as they advanced toward the raised platform. Caliph stood alone at the center, unarmed, refusing to retreat. Ethan burst through a side entrance just as a raider aimed at her. He moved without thinking. He stepped between them. The shot struck his shoulder, spinning him to the ground. Pain exploded through him, hot and blinding. Caliph cried out, rushing to his side. Alien guards surged forward, driving the raiders back. Ethan struggled to breathe. His suit absorbed most of the impact, but not all. Caliph knelt beside him, her hands glowing as she stabilized his wound with emergency energy. "Why?" she demanded. "You owe us nothing." Ethan coughed, managing a weak smile. "You were going to get hurt. That is my burden," she said. Ethan shook his head slightly. "That's where humans disagree." The raiders were driven off moments later. Their ships fled under concentrated fire, leaving silence behind. The throne hall stood damaged but intact. Ethan was carried to the medical chamber again, drifting in and out of consciousness. When he woke, Caliph was there, along with the commander and the elders. The atmosphere was different now. Respect had replaced anger. The commander spoke first. "You placed yourself between death and the one bound to you." "I didn't think about it," Ethan said quietly. "I just acted." "That," an elder said, "is the heart of the law." Caliph stepped forward. "The law says the one who cleanses the armor must be willing to carry the future, even at cost to themselves." She gestured to Ethan's bandaged shoulder. "You have done so without command, without reward." The commander bowed his head slightly. "The trials are complete," he said. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. "So, I'm free?" Caliph looked at him with a small, serious smile. "Free, yes. Unchanged, no." She turned to the council. "Our law was built on fear. Fear that power without restraint would destroy us. We believed only our kind could carry such burden." Her gaze returned to Ethan. "We were wrong." Murmurs filled the chamber. "The human has fulfilled the law not by domination," she continued, "but by responsibility. Not by claim, but by care." She reached out and placed her hand over the repaired section of her armor, which rested nearby. It responded with a soft glow. "The bond stands," she said, "but it is not ownership. It is recognition." Ethan felt something settle in his chest, not pride, but understanding. He had not changed their law. He had reminded it why it existed. As the council formally acknowledged the outcome, a message began spreading beyond the ship, across allied systems and distant stars. A simple truth carried with it. Humans did not seek to rule. They sought to protect. And sometimes, without meaning to, that made all the difference. The council chamber was alive with discussion. But not the kind Ethan had faced when he first arrived. There was no anger, no fear. Only a tension that carried respect and curiosity. Aliens from Caliph's world moved carefully, speaking quietly among themselves, their eyes constantly flicking toward the human who had rewritten their understanding of the law of burden. Ethan stood quietly, leaning on a support rail, his shoulder still stiff from the wound he had taken while protecting Caliph. The pain was a reminder of what he had done, but it was also proof that humans could act even when nothing was guaranteed. He watched Caliph as she approached the council. Her presence commanded attention. Even without her sacred armor, she radiated authority. She carried herself not as a ruler of fear, but a leader of respect. "The law has always been clear," Caliph began, her voice firm, echoing through the chamber. "Only a member of the royal line, or those chosen under strict rites, could cleanse sacred armor. But today, we have learned something vital. One's lineage does not define their ability to honor responsibility. Actions define it." Murmurs rose through the chamber, but they were softer now, less resistant. The elders nodded slowly, impressed and unsettled at the same time. Ethan had done something their laws had never anticipated. Kaleth turned to Ethan. You have proven that even a being outside our culture can fulfill what our law demands. Not because you sought recognition or power, but because you valued life above all else. Ethan shook his head. I didn't even know about your law at first. I just helped when I could. I didn't plan any of this. She smiled faintly. That is what makes it remarkable. The law of burden was not meant for outsiders, yet your choices have honored it better than many of our own. The commander stepped forward. We must rebuild the armor. Not just for the princess, but as a symbol. It will stand as a testament that responsibility is not limited to one species, one lineage, or one tradition. Ethan's eyes followed the ceremonial table where the damaged armor lay. It had been carefully cleaned, reinforced, and stabilized. Sparks of alien energy flickered along its surface, responding to Kaleth's presence. Somehow, the combination of human patience and alien technology had made the armor stronger than it had ever been. I can help, Ethan said quietly, stepping forward. I know how to reinforce it. We can combine materials human alloys with your traditional metals. It will be more durable and still keep its sacred essence. Kaleth looked at him thoughtfully. Are you sure? It is more than just material. It carries meaning. I understand, Ethan replied. I don't want to change its meaning. I just want it to survive longer, so it can protect you and your people, the council debated. But in the end, Kaleth nodded. Then it is agreed. Ethan Vale will aid in reforging the sacred armor, symbolizing not only survival, but unity. For the next several days, the alien ship became a place of collaboration. Ethan worked alongside alien engineers, sharing human techniques and learning theirs in return. Tools and methods were different, but the principle was universal. Focus, care, and respect for the work. Together, they reforged the armor, carefully integrating human alloys into the alien metals without disrupting its sacred structure. During this time, Kaleth and Ethan spent hours training the younger warriors, not in fighting, but in problem-solving and strategy. They taught that strength was not just in the weapon, but in the mind, in patience, and in the courage to act without expectation of reward. News of the humans' deeds spread quickly through the surviving alien forces. Soldiers and civilians alike spoke of Ethan Vale, not as a foreigner, but as a figure who had demonstrated the true meaning of responsibility. His example inspired them. Even the elders admitted that humans possessed qualities that their own culture had sometimes forgotten. Courage that was unassuming, wisdom that did not demand recognition, and care that did not expect repayment. Then, one evening, as the ship traveled through quiet space, an alert came from the edge of the system. Another enemy fleet approached, seeking to capitalize on the post-battle chaos. The remaining alien leaders prepared for defense, tense but ready. Ethan walked alongside Kaleth as they surveyed the command center. We can't face them like last time, he said. Their ships are faster and stronger. Kaleth considered his words. But our people are different now. They have seen responsibility, loyalty, and courage in action beyond what our law defines. They will not falter as before. The battle began. Ethan coordinated energy distribution to shields, repaired damaged platforms, and advised Kaleth on strategic placements. He was not a soldier, yet every action saved lives. The alien forces moved with newfound confidence, inspired by the example of this human who risked everything without hesitation. Boarding raids came again, but this time, Ethan's presence made a difference. He led small teams of engineers and soldiers to repair damaged corridors, stabilize grav lifts, and guide civilians to safe zones. Each decision was precise and selfless. The raiders were skilled, but human ingenuity combined with Kaleth's leadership created a defense that was unmatched. During the final push, Kaleth faced the lead raider captain directly. Her movements were precise and deliberate, her mind focused. Ethan arrived just in time to disable the enemy's energy generator that threatened to collapse the hall. The combined efforts of human and alien minds turned what could have been disaster into victory. When the dust settled, The surviving raiders fled. The alien fleet cheered, not just for victory, but for the example set by Ethan Vale. He had not sought glory, yet it had been achieved through his actions. Kalith approached him once the council gathered again. Her repaired armor gleamed, infused with both alien tradition and human innovation. She placed a hand on it, and it pulsed softly with energy. "You have done more than the law required," she said. "You have shown my people that responsibility and courage are not confined to bloodlines or species. You have earned their respect, and mine." Ethan looked at her, shaking his head slightly. "I didn't do it for respect. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And that is why it matters more than anything," Kalith replied. The council agreed to formal recognition. Ethan Vale was named an honorary guardian, a title that carried weight in their culture, but not ownership. The sacred armor, reforged and glowing with new power, became a symbol of unity between humans and Kalith's people. It was no longer just a relic of tradition, but a testament to the strength found when different worlds come together, with respect and courage. Months passed, and the alien civilization began rebuilding. Human engineers worked alongside alien counterparts, sharing knowledge and strategies. Trade routes reopened, alliances strengthened, and the galaxy slowly took notice of a new example. The collaboration of two species, not through conquest or fear, but through shared responsibility and mutual respect. One evening, Ethan stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Kalith joined him, her armor resting beside her. She spoke quietly. "Your people have a saying, don't they?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Yes. Do not fear humans when they fight. Fear them when they protect. Fear them. Fear them. Fear them." Kalith nodded. "It is true. You have protected not only me but my people. Without demand. Without thought for reward. That is why our empire will remember this day. And why the law itself has been renewed." Ethan looked at the stars, the infinite stretch of space beyond the ship. He thought of Earth, of the home he had left behind, and of the countless challenges humanity had faced and overcome. "I don't know if I'm special," he said. "Special is not the point," Kalith said softly. "It is your actions that change the world. One choice at a time. Today, you carried the burden of a princess, a civilization, and a law. Tomorrow, the stars themselves will carry the story." Ethan turned his gaze back to her. "Then I guess humans and aliens can make a pretty good team," Kalith smiled. "Indeed. And now, because of you, we understand that responsibility, courage, and care are universal. Not one species owns them. Not one law defines them." The reforged armor shimmered faintly in the corner, glowing with both alien energy and human ingenuity. It was more than a tool or a symbol. It was a reminder of what could happen when the right choices were made, even by those who were far from home, far from understanding, yet guided by a simple principle: to protect life when it mattered most. The galaxy had learned a new lesson. Humans were not just conquerors or explorers. They were guardians, problem solvers, and caretakers, willing to stand against any threat, not for power, but for the promise of life itself. Ethan breathed in slowly, the weight of exhaustion heavy but satisfying. He had walked into a culture of ancient law, of tradition and strict rules, and without even trying, had rewritten what it meant to act with honor. Kalith placed her hand on his shoulder gently. "The armor will remain sacred," she said, "but its meaning has grown. It is no longer only about who can wear it or cleanse it. It is about who will protect, who will endure, and who will act without thought of reward. That is you, human." Ethan looked at her, surprised at the gravity of her words. "Me? Yes," she replied firmly. "You did what we could not expect, what our laws could not predict. And because of that, we are stronger. The Empire is stronger. And I—" She paused, meeting his eyes. "I am safer because of you." Ethan allowed himself a small smile. Then I guess this human owes the Empire a debt he doesn't plan to collect. Calith laughed softly, the sound like a melody through the quiet of the observation deck. Good. Let the galaxy remember this. Let all who hear it know that humans act not for dominance, but because it is right. That is the truest form of strength. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to the story that had unfolded, and in that infinite expanse, two species had found understanding, not through law or tradition alone, but through actions born of courage, care, and unwavering responsibility. Ethan looked at the stars again, feeling the quiet thrill of having changed something bigger than himself. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown threats and possibilities. But for the first time, he knew humans had not only survived, they had reminded the universe what it meant to act with true honor. And somewhere deep in the quiet hum of the rebuilt alien fleet, the reforged armor glimmered, a beacon of unity, courage, and hope for the future. The human who had done nothing more than help someone survive had claimed not a person, but the respect of a civilization. And in the vastness of space, that was more than enough.